everyone. Okay, so Heather here with Coco and Claire again. And we're gonna go over how to take care of some of your brushes that we have. What to do if they're getting all kind of, can we see that? If like the hairs are starting to stick out, or they got a bunch of color in them and you don't want the color, or if you plain old just cure them with gel and you wanna try and get it out. So, I've got a bunch of brushes here. And we'll go over some of the new things that have released too that you might have missed at the end. So this is our big dust brush, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but you can see kind of a few of the little hairs sticking up. Now the dust brushes, whether they're the big ones or the little ones, you don't want to put gel in them because they're for dusting, and then that'll just make the gel stick to them even more and wreck them. So whether you use them for chrome or just dust on their own, I like to vacuum mine. I just take the vacuum hose and put it right on the end of them. That kind of sucks up all the brushes. You can also blow them out with like a can of air or air compressor if you have one. And then the little tiny hairs on the very top that are kind of sticking up, most of the time it's fine, like, because you're just dusting off dust. But if the hairs are really bothering you, you can take a tiny pair of scissors. Like, these are pretty tiny. You can see they're the same length as my nail. And you can just kind of give them a little trim if they don't want to pull out. You'll get loose hairs every now and then. But if they're just kind of sticking up, give it a brush with your hand a few times and some of the loose hairs will come out, and you can get rid of some of the ones that are kind of stragglers. If they don't pull out easily, you can just give them a trim. That's about it. Yeah, just keep these away from oils and gels because that'll just make the dust stick to them more. And you can wash them if you want. It would take, especially this guy, he's really big. He will take a while to dry out. If you're a pro tech and you're using these on more than just yourself, you'll have to check with your health board. Everywhere has different protocols. Most of the time you can't use these kind of brushes. Unfortunately, you have to use something that can be disinfected. So it just depends on where you live. So check that out. But for yourself, yeah, that's how those go. And then we got a few. So this is our little brush. Is everything? Sorry, it looks blurry on my screen, but it seems okay on your screen. These are our little, sorry, I forget what they were called. They're like glitter brushes. You can pick up glitter with them or pigments. I believe it came in the sweater kit and stuff. So you can see I kind of have like some hairs sticking out there. And we don't want to get any oils or gel in these ones either, if that's what you're using it for. If you're using it to just pick up pigments and glitter, you want to keep it gel free. So these are sticking out. You could try and bend him back into shape with some hot water or heat. Or if you don't want to, and it's just this one rogue one, you can just give him a little clip as short as you can. Bring your scissors down to the base so that you only have that one hair and clip it off. And that is it for those little guys. And for these ones, so this is pretty common. Put your lid back on and you end up splitting the hairs apart. If you try and put them back together, they won't go back together. They're just kind of stuck like that. Not ruined. They're fixable, definitely, when they're just like this. So you're gonna take a little cup, and we got some boiling water. So this is water fresh from the kettle. He's super hot. And we're just gonna put our brush in, wipe off all the gel that's on there just with a clean wipe first. Put a brush in and just let him sit there for a couple seconds. And you'll see he's actually like just starting to mold himself back in already. Give him wipe off. And there you can see he's back to normal. So once you kind of get him back to normal, run some gel through. And by running gel through, I mean, take your mat or your tile or something. Take either some of your top coat, any gel works, but if you want just clear, your top coat or your strong, can be matte or shiny top coat, and just pull your hairs in through it and coat it and pull it through a bunch of times, and that gets every hair covered. Do that a few times, give him a wipe with a dry wipe, and he's all ready to go. So he's still got a tiny bit of gel in there, just enough to keep him conditioned, but not enough that he's going to be goopy. And then carefully put your lid on. And that's the wrong lid actually, so we won't put him on. But yeah, that's what you do with, if you just kind of wreck them like that. You can also use the heating tiles that are for like candle warmers. You can buy them anywhere, any craft store, that kind of place. If you turn on your heating tile, put on a tile like this, something to make it not quite so hot. You can put gel on your tile while it's hot and run your brush through, and even like put a glove on your finger and push your bristles down, kind of turning it as you're pushing, and like you're almost like you're ironing clothes and your finger's the iron. You can do that too. But yeah, hot water works really good. Everyone's got it around. So that is those little guys. And we'll do some, so this is not a Coco and Claire brush, but I wanted to show you with a bigger brush so that you could see it better on camera. So this is my brush that I use for dark colors. So it's got some black in here. I've wiped it. Like most of the color is gone, but you still get a little bit. If you wanted to change colors where you don't get any color in your next set, for whatever reason you want to, especially with your little detailer brushes, you got some glitter in there and you want to get the glitter out so it's not in there as much, you're gonna take any color of gel. You can use a clear, you can use the color that you're wanting to change it to. Wipe out as much as you can with the wipe. So we're gonna wipe with a dry wipe. We don't wanna use any cleanser or chemical because that will wreck it. But we wanna wipe as much as we can out of there. And then I have white gel polish on here right now. We're gonna pull up through the gel polish only on one side. So I have it on one side, but not on the other. We're gonna pull through only on one side. If you pull through both sides, you're just gonna push the black towards the middle of the brush and it will take longer to come out. But if you only do one side, you gotta do this a bunch. And you can see the white's getting a little bit gray because some of the black's going through it. But if I wipe the other side, it'll start pulling out that black. And you just keep doing that. And depending on what gels you've used, will depend on how much comes out. But yeah, that took a lot of the black out. Oh, there goes a bunch. And you don't have to get all of it out. Sometimes it really depends, like if you're using a really concentrated black and you want to change it to something like a white or a light pink, you probably will have to do this. You don't have to get every ounce out, but it gets out enough that then your light color stays true to its color and you don't have a bunch of black all of a sudden interfering. When you're done that a bunch, give it a wipe again, and then you're good to go. And that, you can see like even the brush heads are a lot lighter now. They're much more its natural sable color instead of being black. Okay, that's how, and it works for like these teeny tiny guys, same thing. It won't take as long because there's only, 6 hairs in this brush compared to these big ones. But same idea, just keep pulling it through, wiping with a clean wipe, and you'll eventually get it out. And that's it. All your brushes that you use for gels, you want to keep a little bit of gel in them. You don't want to use cleanser on them or like residue remover, acetone, nail polish remover, nothing like that. You don't want to use any chemicals on your brushes if you can help it. It will wreck them. It will dry them out. Brushes like these are natural hairs. There is synthetic ones. It's personal choice. Generally, the natural hair ones work better. in my opinion. But there is synthetic ones out there, and they're usually white most times. Yeah, so you always want to keep a little bit of gel. And like there's not much in this brush, but there is a tiny bit that it stays conditioned. And that's what you want. You want it to stay conditioned so it doesn't dry out. If your ends are starting to get kind of ratty right in here, you can take your teeny tiny scissors and give it a trim. It is changing your brush. It won't be the same as it was when you first bought it, but you will get a little more life out of your brush once they start to get ratty. I quite often will do that. If this is my sculpting brush that I'm using for sculpting or color application, that's just one solid color, and it's starting to look really ratty, I will sometimes give it a little trim. I'll get, you know, another month out of it. Or I give it a little trim and it becomes my glitter brush. And I have, like, this is my glitter brush. And he's in pretty good shape. I replaced him actually not too long ago. But my glitter brush, I go through a lot more. I go through them way faster. Especially if you're using loose glitters, like our sprinkles. They just get compacted into the brushes and they definitely wreck them faster. So that's something to think about. If you're someone that likes to use a brush instead of the brush that comes in the bottle, then you might want to have something that uses, or have several brushes for different uses. Oop. And it goes the same for the brushes that come in the bottle. You treat them the same as you would treat these brushes. Like these are synthetic hairs, so they're made out of plastic type stuff. Same kind of thing. If you get a rogue one that's sticking out, you can try and push them back into shape. Same thing, you can put them in the water or trim them off. Same kind of thing. Most of the time, you will use up your gel before your brush starts to look really ratty. But if they do, so if you end up putting your brush near your light. So, oh, you know what? I don't have my little light. So the little cocoa lights, so they shine. If you have your brush sitting here, it's not under the light, but it's near the light, it will cure. So you want your brush as far away as you can. Same with your bottles if you have them open. If you have them open and sitting out kind of, you know, with the brush sitting up, it will cure. If you leave them sitting like that for a long time, and by long time, I mean like overnight, you leave them open, they will start to cure just by the UV light and the LED lights from your room and from the sun, just if they're out long enough. So you want to keep your brushes away from your light as far as you can and away from windows because it's UV. If you need to, because these little guys, like they don't have a covering. So if you're working in a small area and you're really worried about it, or you keep curing your brushes because you don't have enough room to put your lids or your brushes or anything like that, if you really wanted to, you could put like tinfoil on the back side and the sides, and that would cover it and give you some extra protection if you don't have one of the bigger lamps that has a enclosure on it. But yeah, you want to stay away from the little lights because it will wreck your brush. So what happens if you wreck your brush? So you can try, your brush will never be the same. It is wrecked. It will never be the same as what it was. You can take like a scraper, like the clear jelly scrapers work good, or any kind of metal scraper. You don't want it to cut your bristles, but you want it enough that you can kind of scrape out. Your fingernail works good too, actually. Anything to kind of scrape out the chunks of gel that are in there. Get out as much as you can. And then I would soak your brush in our cleanse. I would try that first. And if that is not getting rid of enough stuff, then you could soak it in residue remover or acetone. It will dry out your brush. It will wreck your brush. So it's kind of a last resort to use chemicals. But if you kind of want, if you've tried scraping it out and nothing else is working and you've cut out, you know, if it's just a corner that kind of got cured, you can just cut out that corner. But if all else fails, put it in the cleanser for a couple minutes and see if it'll pull out some of that. You can give it a few more scrapes if you want. But make sure when you're done that to pull out the, like wipe it a lot, pull out the cleanser and do the pulling thing with gel again. Run your brush through the gel, both sides a whole bunch of times, give it a bunch of wipes, repeat that so that you recondition your brush. And you'll, depending how badly you cured your brush, will really depend on if it's salvageable. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be, and it will just be garbage. It just really depends on how badly it got done. But if it is quite bad, and you got a funky brush that looks like this, like he was pretty at one time. He was this same brush. These are the clear jelly brushes. So he looked like this one at one time. But I don't think I actually cured him. I think he just got used and abused. So I kind of cleaned him out as best I could, and he's not good for putting on gel. It'll be streaky and it'll be bad, but don't throw him out because he still actually has some pretty good uses. Really good for like stippling. You can cut out some of the hairs. Like you can kind of see some of my hairs are shorter in here because I just took my scissors and cut out chunks and made him even more ratty looking than what he was. And he works good for stippling. So you can put your brush into some gel and then you can kind of just give yourself like that stippled look. Kind of hard to see. I have kind of a darker finger. So yeah, you can give yourself kind of like that stipply look. Yeah, so there's always a use for your brush that's been wrecked, just not necessarily the use it was intended for. Okay, and I think that's about it for brushes. Did you guys have any questions about brushes? My client loves the soft touch of this brush. Yeah, the brushes are super nice, especially these big ones. These big ones are super nice. And this little one I use for removing chrome because he's super stiff. Same with the big one too. And I'll go through some of the new stuff. So this week released the Hocus Pocus Chameleon Flakes, which they're like a purpley blue color. Super pretty. And it came out kind of, it just as a Halloween kind of set. And you can do a bunch of things. You can just press them into pigments and stuff. I think we have a video on them. I did a Watch Me Work, I believe, on them. And he is this one. So that's what he looks like on top of black. And he looks the same on top of white, just on black he looks a little more vibrant. So that's the Hocus Pocus. And then I think 2 weeks ago, they did the golden one. So on top of white or super light colors, it's going to look like this. He's going to look this holographic kind of iridescent color. On top of dark colors, he's going to look like that, where it's all golden. The darker, the more gold he looks. And super pretty. There's both of them kind of side by side. So yeah, that's the new Chameleon Flakes. And they're super nice. I've been using them lots. Stamping with them and sticking them in gel, and they're messy, but they're super pretty. And then one thing that I think kind of got missed was our tip stand. It didn't really have an official release. It kind of just got put on the website and it kind of got lost. And I've had a few people asking about it, so I thought I'd show it on here. So this tip stand, they're just magnetic. It comes like this, 5 little holders with the stand. And to hold your tips on, you can use either like a self-adhesive tab, like from our Glam and Glow work, or like poster sticky tack. That's mostly what I use. And the poster sticky tack is just like that. Like it goes on, squish it on, and he stays pretty good. Or the glue dots from like the craft stores for like scrapbooking, those work really good too. Any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the little stands there. It's on the site somewhere. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for the tips for brush care. Nobody talks about it, but so important. Yes, you're right. No one does talk about it. You kind of find random tips on brush care. Here and there, you'll pick up things if you read comments, but yeah, it's really hard to find a video on brush care, actually, now that you say that. So yeah, I thought that was a good thing. It was a question that was asked in our VIP group, and it gave me the idea for the video. So yeah, so that's everything there, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good time. Bye.